Hello, everyone. Great to see everyone. It is Wednesday at noon Eastern, and I am so excited that you came and were interested in this Zoom meeting and it is a free masterclass, Crush Your Cravings. I'd love to know a little bit more about you, so you could put your name and where you're calling from in the chat. That would be great. And we're just going to wait for everyone to get here. It should be momentarily, and I'll be starting the um, free masterclass momentarily. Okay? Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. Very good. Again, thank you so much for attending this free masterclass. And if you found any value, you could put that in the chat at the end of the masterclass. We'll try to keep it at 1 hour. And if you have found this to be valuable, you may want to let your friends that we are having another one Monday, July 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And they can use that same link to register. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. All right, I'm going to go in the slideshow. And again, welcome. I did send a worksheet, and hopefully you saw that. I sent that in the last couple of emails as a reminder. So you can pull that out and start taking some notes. And I ask that you please turn off your cell phone and close any tabs that might be interfering with your internet connection. Sometimes during the day, it gets a little wonky. So let me ask you, have you ever experienced any boredom, any anxiety, stress, lack of sleep, some loneliness, anger, fear? Since COVID has started, some of the ladies are saying they're having, unfortunately, some financial difficulties and also some relationship difficulties. But I want to let you know that really your body's just naturally recurring and reacting to these emotions. We have so many, and they can come and go and all of a sudden hit you on one day and you're pretty much numb, which a couple of times that has happened to me. I ended up being on the couch for most of the day in my PJs. But I want you to tell you that these are natural occurring emotions. So you need to stop blaming yourself for it. The thing that I wanted to explain during our class today is that if you are reaching more for food to find some relief from the negative emotions, that food is not the only answer. And we're going to talk about how you can transport those emotions to another road. So is this you? Because it's really, like I said, it's not your fault, and stop blaming yourself. This is one of the cycles that can become a problem for you, is that when you are feeling the overwhelming urge to eat, it can cycle to wanting to eat more than you should. It's because you still have those emotions, and sometimes you feel like the food's just not helping you in any way. So that turns around to feeling guilty and powerless over food because your emotions are still in the back of your mind. And it starts another round of feeling overwhelming, that urge to eat. And that's when we get into trouble with using food as our answer to emotion. So my promise to you is that I'm going to give you as much information as I can in our limited time. And toward the end of our presentation, I'll share with you a brand new program that may resonate with you. All right. So, like I said, it's not being upset about those emotions. You're just going to offer those alternative ways to ease your emotions other than food. So this masterclass is for you if you are ready to find those solutions to crush your cravings. You're tired of reaching for food to satisfy those stress emotions. And maybe your waistline is getting wider, unfortunately. And food is causing you constant concern, and it's now interfering with your daily activities. And if you find that is of constant concern and it does interfere with your daily activities, I highly invite you to uh, go after some appropriate care immediately. These could be signs that you are experiencing a eating disorder, and eating disorders must be treated by qualified physicians and psychotherapists. So I wanted to give you as much information as I could in this masterclass. So this masterclass is not for you if you're looking for a weight loss program. I believe in having a weight neutral, yet I know that some of the ladies that I've talked to and some of my clients have a lot of weight to lose, and they're not feeling very good about themselves. So I do have a weight loss program. If you'd like to know more information or you know of someone who is struggling with that, we can. But this masterclass is not a weight loss program training. So here's a few light COVID remarks that I found on the internet. I know emotional eating is not funny, but this may bring a smile to your face. So someone wrote, "Food has always been my frenemy, my best friend, and my worst enemy. It's Sarah Lee, Ben and Jerry, and famous Andy, sadly, that are my new best friends." And this lady wrote, "I can't stop overeating now that I am locked down. I wish I had lockjaw." Here's another one. "I'm involved instead in many diverse activities at home throughout the day. There's snacking, there's grazing, munching, nibbling, noshing, chowing down, and sometimes even meeting meals." You could put something in the chat if you have found that to be amusing for you. Great. So we want to have, whoops, let's go back. Okay. I'd like you to think about a healthy relationship with your emotions because it is about skill power and not willpower. Willpower can only cycle that back into that overwhelming overeating cycle. So I want to give you the skills, tools, and resources to help you ease that and move into a healthy relationship with your emotions. So our today's agenda is that we're going to talk about the what, the where, the why, and the how to crush your cravings and beyond. Like I said, it's skill power and not willpower. And I will share a brand new program that may resonate with you. And I have a free gift to anyone that has come to this presentation today, and I thank you so much. And I'll be sending that free gift to you. And at the end of the presentation, I'll be taking any Q&A that pop up. So go ahead and as we go through the masterclass, please chat in the box and put your questions in there, and I'll see if we can answer them at the end of the presentation. So my promise to you is that I will teach you as much as I can in our limited time. But this is a long and can be a journey with your emotions. So I want you just to relax. And there's 4 areas that I want us to discuss today. I want you to be curious, which is the what. I want you to trust your body, which is the where. I want you to have self-compassion. That's the why. And there's no judgment at all. And this is the how. So who am I? I'm Diane Morris. I have a bachelor's science in foods and nutrition. I'm also a certified and wellness coach. I'm a registered dietitian and I love clothes, so I became a personal stylist. My career experience includes a clinical nutrition of over 25 plus years, and I was the clinical dietitian at an eating disorder in a hospital. Got a lot of experience there. And I started my private practice about 6 years ago when we moved to Atlanta. I'm also an author. My Get Out of Sugar Jail is an ebook that's located on Amazon. And my book, my paperback book, is Build Your Confidence Through Wardrobe, Color, and Style. And that is also on Amazon. So that's my career experience. Let me tell you about my personal experience. You see, I am an emotional eater. And I've been that eater for a very, very long time. I can remember going back when I was in high school. I was kind of a nervous person and had some anxiety. And I would go to parties or go on a date or go to football games and then come home about 10 o'clock. And even though I wasn't hungry, I went to the kitchen and I would devour a half a loaf of bread. It seemed like I could not get enough of the carbs. My parents owned a neighborhood grocery store, so they always brought home food such as Twinkies and Hostess cupcakes and ice cream and potato chips. And they were just in the house at all times. And since then, I've always had a sweet and salty yearning. And this has followed me all the way through adulthood. But I know that I need to handle my emotions. And when it pops up that I need those cravings, I just relax and I follow the strategies that I'm going to discuss later on in this masterclass. So stay tuned. So here's the be curious one. This is the what. There are 4 categories of eating your emotions. The first is overeating. The next is your cravings. The next is binge eating. And the next is emotional eating. And I left that to the end because I wanted to have you understand those 3 other ones, because emotional eating is almost like the umbrella for all of the other ones. So I want you to have this one exercise. It won't take too long. If you have some paper nearby or take your notes, and I'd like you to think about and just do a quick brain dump. This isn't a lot of thinking about it. I just want you to list, why do you eat? And start writing them down on your piece of paper. So I'll wait a few minutes and I'm not going to ask you to share them. This is your private information. But again, why do I eat? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and time and I'll get back with you in a couple minutes. Okay. Well, it's been about a minute, so I wanted to see from the chat, does anyone need any more time, or you pretty much you've completed your list? Just let me know completed in the chat, and then we'll move on. Okay, it looks like everybody is completed. So let's go ahead and move on. How did you like that exercise? Did it really take some thought of why you eat other than because you're hungry? Okay, we'll come back to that list in a little bit later. So again, the what and the be curious part of how to crush your cravings. The first one is overeating. Overeating is just a normal tendency for us humans. We may take that extra helping in case we're already full, and then we get to the point where we're feeling stuffed. And the best way that I can describe it and have for you to really get a handle on overeating is think Thanksgiving. How many of you after Thanksgiving, you can barely move? The guys are sitting on the couch watching football. They're munching, or you have lots of dessert still on the table. You go back, or you might be pulling out some snacks. Even though you just finished a huge meal, it's that overeating because that food is there and it tastes so good. So I wanted to give you a quote by Evelyn Tribole and Elise Reich. They are two dietitians that wrote Intuitive Eating. And I think this sentence is really relating to that overeating tendency. When an unbalanced lifestyle occurs with too many responsibilities and obligations combined with too little time for pleasure and relaxation, food becomes that easy fix to indulge, escape, and ignore overeating. And that becomes the red flag because our body has an internal mechanism to tell us when we experience neutral eating. And neutral eating is described as your satiety, you're not overly hungry, and you're not overly full. The next category is cravings. I believe we all have cravings. I have many cravings. And it's something that you just have that taste for. And it may be hot, it may be cool, or it may be room temperature. Or it may have a texture such as being crunchy, salty, smooth, like a milkshake or ice cream. And it's very tempting. It's just you just cannot get it out of your head. You've got to go find it. And usually with cravings, you're looking for just that one particular food. And if that continues with cravings and it doesn't satisfy you, you may have that red flag that it may occur and may be cycling into binge eating. So a couple of months ago, I put out a poll and asked several people what their top food craving was. And I got about 9 responses, and I feel it's pretty well on board with a lot of other women who talk about their food craving. So the biggest food cravings, over 22%, is chocolate. The next is sweets. And divided into a little bit of all 11% 0.1 and 11% 0.1 is between salty food, alcohol, and savory and cheeses and Coke. So all of those become top cravings. And one that we had was eggs, and that people were kind of having that crave for eggs. And it's about halfway in between the chocolate and the sweets category. So you can go ahead and put in your chat if and which of your listed is a top food craving. Okay, see salty food. I see sweets, chocolate. Okay. See gum. lots of cheeses, lots of crackers, soda. So we all have that, just that one craving that we love to have. So let's go on to the other be curious what category, and that's binge eating. Binge eating is a little different than cravings because you're eating a very large amount in a very short amount of time. You begin feeling very stuffed, and your episodes may be at least once a week. And if you're finding that it is more than once a week, and it's going on for at least 3 months, which COVID, we could have that category, I ask you to think about that. And if it is interfering with your daily living activities, you may want to have that appointment with your physician. And more about that binge eating. See, binge eating is no specific type of food, where cravings is usually that one special food. And sometimes you binge eat and secretly eat, like I secretly eat after everybody goes to bed. Or I see some ladies that buy one piece of a pie, and I'll go in the grocery store and I'll go buy their car, and they are eating in their car that one piece. So they secretly eat and have it devoured before they get home. And again, it can lead to emotional eating, which would be further on with the eating disorders. So let's take a look at emotional eating. Emotional eating can also be very fun. It can be a very good experience and have great memories, such as a birthday party, a reunion, a retirement. Those that you have a lot of food, but it's because you are celebrating and you feel great and not of the guilt and the shame and the embarrassment. Because emotional eating can have those negative emotions tied to it. We're eating for other reasons than the good, fun, and great memory. Emotional eating is very recurrent, and you almost have an unconscious eating. I don't know if anyone has ever had a whole bag of chips, and then all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, I just ate that bag of chips, and I really didn't notice that I did. Another one would be that tub of ice cream that you pull out, that Ben and Jerry's. And all of a sudden you're looking at the bottom of the ice cream tub and you have eaten the whole thing. And emotional eating is trying to fill that emotional void. Some kind of thought, emotion that you're trying to distract. Some of those are negative emotions that we are feeling, especially during our pandemic, is stress. It could be sadness, frustration, anxiety, fear from isolation, boredom, financial reasons, and relationships. So what I'd like to do, if you could just put down one of those negative emotions that you feel you want to share in the chat and see what comes up. We may find that there's some very common negative emotions that it's occurring now. Okay, I see a lot of stress. Good. I see financial reasons. Yeah, a lot of people have to close their doors. We're still on furlough. And a lot of people are just having fear. When is this going to end? When can I go out and really return to some kind of normalcy? I understand that. It is a tough time for a lot of the United States of America. So let's move on. We're still on the what, and I wanted to share with you there's two types of hunger. One is your physical or primal hunger, and the other one is your emotional, heart, or environmental hunger. And I'll go ahead and explain both of them right now. Your physical hunger, it just kind of comes on very slowly, like you've got a little bit of a pang, but it's not overtaking your mind and your body. And you can wait, you know, it sounds like I might be hungry, but I can wait maybe 30 minutes, a half an hour. And you're open to a lot of different options that you'd like to eat. And many of the foods do sound good to you. There's no specific food that you're going after. And when you stop, you feel full. You have this satiety feeling, and you're eating to nourish and to satisfy your body. And you are in control. Okay? You need any questions answered just go ahead and put them in the chat. So the emotional or heart or environmental hunger is a little different. This one comes on very suddenly, and it feels like it needs to be satisfied instantly. This is where the cravings come in and the binge eating is, but you've got to satisfy those emotions, and you're turning to food to instantly satisfy those emotions. Like I said, it could crave specific comfort foods. You're not satisfied, you may have that full stomach, and it's triggering some feelings of guilt and shame. And you do feel out of control and powerless. So if you could write down and share in the chat that you feel like you have a lot more emotional hunger than you do the physical hunger. And it isn't always easy to really um, define and know the difference between emotional and physical hunger, because sometimes we use the emotional hunger and we mask if we are really physically hungry. And in my program, we go through that so you can start to listen to your body, so you know that it's a primal hunger versus an emotional hunger. So the physical primal hunger comes from your stomach. You may feel pangs. You may feel your stomach is growling or it's rumbling. You may experience a headache. It may be you're lightheaded. You might be experiencing some low blood sugar. Your mood might even change. Sometimes you get angry, cranky, or even subdued. And you may have eaten more than 4 hours from your last meal or snack. So your body's saying that it needs nourishment. So the next one is trust your body, and it's the where. So with the heart hunger, which is emotional and environmental, it's not the physical primal hunger. You're compensating for your emotions. You're trying to solve that need, whether it's stress or boredom, isolation, anger, fear. So many of those emotions, and they run all together, and you could have multiple emotions, especially with the pandemic. You could feel lonely, and it's a learned behavior. So your mind and your heart says, I need some food, and I need it now. And like I said, some of these negative emotions could be that you're feeling so isolated. You want some comfort. You're bored. You feel empty inside, and definitely feel that stress. So with the heart, emotional, and environmental hunger, it's not the stomach, but they are in your body designated by the senses. So your senses become on the alert, that red flag. And as you can see in this picture, this lady or girl is standing in front of the fridge, and she has no idea what she wants to eat. You can see that fridge is stacked full of food. You can put in the chat how many of us really have ever experienced just standing in front of that fridge or freezer or pantry and going, I don't know what I want to eat, but I want to eat. And if you see on the bottom where that dog is saying, oh no, she's at it again. She's in the fridge trying to find some food to comfort her. So there is a mouth hunger where you do stand in front of that fridge, freezer, or pantry, and you might be smacking your lips. You're tasting. You want that taste for something. And you need to feel some kind of texture. Could be that crunchy, that smooth, that chewy. Could be the salty. And this is really the mouth hunger starts when a baby's born. Because what do? They're hungry, they need nourishment, so they either go to the breast or the bottle to get satisfied. And the babies will tell you that they have had enough. They're full, and they usually turn their head away. And milk does have a milk sugar called lactose. And those babies do have that taste of sugar. What happens is that as the baby grows and becomes a toddler, he's still looking for that nourishment, and they may be having a meltdown or they're terrible twos, and mom or dad is giving them some food that will give them the nourishment. And it might be ice cream, it might be goldfish, it might be a cupcake. And so this becomes the learned behavior because they know that if I cry or if I'm grouchy or having a fit, my mom will give me some foods to keep me quiet. I don't know in the chat that happens to you. Sometimes when my children were younger, I was trying to divert them, so I diverted them to, okay, be good. Let's go. We can go to McDonald's and have an ice cream. So the other heart, emotional, and hunger in the where is the nose hunger. That means that you're smelling food. Yeah, before we used to go to the malls, and there was always some kind of a chocolate chip company there, and you could just smell it as you go through, and just say, "Oh my gosh, there's those are chocolate chips. Let's go have one or two," and then you take a pretzel home with you. So that's the other sense, that nose. The other one is your eyesight, where you're kind of looking at your clock and saying, "Oh, it must be lunchtime. I think I'm hungry. I don't know, but I should be hungry." Or you might be looking at some other people's food, such as when you used to be dining in the restaurant, or you ask the waiter, "Oh my gosh, what is they having? It really looks good." And just by looking at the food versus reading it on a menu, you're going, oh, I think I want to have that. I want to enjoy that. And of course, all of our propaganda, which is everywhere, especially social media, TV, magazines, everywhere we look. There's so many ads to purchase food and have takeout, have delivery. So we really are food focused in every way. So it is very difficult not to succumb to the emotional hunger. So what I want back to do is going back to your exercise, to the list that you wrote down of why you eat. And I want you to write down whether it is your eyesight and put an S, or it's your mouth hunger, or it's a nose hunger. And you can put N for nose, you can put E for eyesight. You could put M for mouth hunger. And if those aren't the three item, the senses, then just go ahead and put the H and put hunger. And that might be just because you're hungry. So I'm just going to give you a minute to kind of write down whether it's the nose, your eyesight, your mouth, or it is hunger. Be interesting if you could find out what your most common hungers, quote, hungers are. Okay, go ahead and move on. So here's the why, and that's all about self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. And I know that it is tough these days. We are experiencing so many more emotions that we never have encouraged in our lifetime. And we are eating our feelings away because food is very easy, it's fast, and it's available. Yet there are some physical health consequences that I want to let you know about that can spiral into some other medical issues. One is weight gain. The next one is high blood pressure. Or if you have these already, it could be causing more problems with those diagnoses, especially the type 2 diabetes. You may experience high cholesterol. You do have some digestive issues that you may not have had before because you're limited to your activity. And you could be experiencing some poor sleep. All of these can be consequences that would affect your physical health. So the other reasons of the why that you're eating your feelings, it goes to the other side of your brain called the mental health consequences. I'd like to share with you The Window of Tolerance by Ogden, Minton, and Pang when they do the research back in 2000. So here you are. Let me go back. So the goal is the middle of this graph. You can see with the blue that there's an optimal zone. Above the optimal zone, it's a hyperarousal zone. And below that is the hypoarousal zone. So let's look at the hypoarousal zone. This is called, you kind of freeze. In fact, this is what happened to me when I was just so numb with everything going on with COVID. I didn't want to do anything. And you have an avoidance, you're numbing, you're isolated, you feel depressed maybe, and your cravings are just out of control. And you may be feeling some shame, guilt, and embarrassment because you just feel out of control. It's a very low frequency, and it's almost like your body is in freeze mode. The one on the top is called the hyperarousal zone. It's your fight or flight. And this is where some of you may be having some emotions that you feel very agitated and angry. You're on hyper alert all the time, and this could be causing some negative emotions, especially if you are listening to the news. You could be panicked. You may be experiencing poor sleep because you just can't relax. And you could have that decreased focus. Again, your cravings become out of control because you are feeling those symptoms, but you have no idea what they could be possibly or how to eliminate them. And that's the most important. How to eliminate those emotions without having the cravings and the binge eating and leading to emotional eating. So the goal is to be in that optimal zone where you feel calm, you feel grounded, you're present, you're very safe, you can handle your feelings, You can find those feelings that match your emotions so you can control your cravings because you can use the strategies that will solve the emotions versus going toward food. And I'm going to show you those in just a few minutes because I really feel the how is the core to this masterclass. So I thought I would give you a couple of testimonials. This is from, we all know Taylor Swift, excuse me. She battles with the side of restrictive eating. Her relationship with food was exactly the same psychology, she says, that she applied to everything else in her life. If she was given a pat on the head, she thought that registered as good. But if she was given a punishment, she registered herself as bad. And she really did realize at the time that she was not meant to feel fatigued after performing. Let's go back to her early childhood and teenager emotions. She thought she really was supposed to feel like that and that she was about ready to pass out of a show or in the middle of it because she thought that was a natural feeling. Her feelings and emotions were not identifiable. But she checked herself into a clinic, and this was her statement, but still back in 2019. And she realizes now that if she eats food and not restricting it, she will have the energy, get stronger, and she can do all those shows and perform really well. And at the end of performance, she'll feel great. Here's another one I thought would be of interest to you. This is Paula Abdul. We know her as a dancer, a choreographer, a singer. She's battled with bulimia, which is the other side of restricted eating. She checked herself into a clinic in 1994. She had very negative feelings about her own body image, and she had them as early as 7 years old, and she started dancing. But she said it didn't really manifest into a full-blown eating disorder until she was in high school. So that's 16. She may have had that close to 11 years. Like I said, she checked herself into a clinic, and she is now a spokesperson for the National Eating Disorders Association. She courageously speaks out in the hopes of encouraging young women to take that scary but necessary steps to seek help. It's one of the toughest things to talk about, she said, bar none. And it is one of the hardest disorders to deal with because it's really not black and white, it's a journey. She says eating disorders really have to do not with food, but it's all about the feelings behind it. So I'm going to give you a quick recap. We talked about the what, the where, and the why of handling your emotions and where they come from. Either you do them consciously or unconsciously. And it can take your quality of life away. You're realizing that negative emotions really do not serve you and that food is not always the answer to satisfy your emotions. And as you know, that there are serious physical and emotional consequences when we talked about the physical primal hunger and the heart emotional hunger. And the answer that I believe that I can help you is learning the skills, the resources to really have that quality of life. And it's just not willpower. And willpower is always associated with restrictive eating or diets. And you may be very acceptable and successful with diets. But on the usual side, your weight does come back. So I want to give you the skills right now that you can really take home and have immediate action to see if we can control those emotions. And if not, then I have some further information that I can share. Because as you know, it is time to reclaim your confident body emotions. We don't know how long this stay in place will be. We've opened it up, and then now there is mandatory mask, there's mandatory closing. And I just read on the news this morning that fall and winter is going to be our highest number of COVID problems and the infection. So I would hate to have you go through 3 or 4 months, or almost a year, of just feeling bad about your body. So if you stick with me for a little longer, we're almost there, where we can go a little deeper with you. And remember that if you stay to the end, I do have a great free gift to send you. So the next one and the last one is how, where there's no judgment. Okay? These are mindful strategies. There's no blame, there's no embarrassment, just strategies that you can be more mindful and be aware so you can find positive coping skills. So what we're going to be doing, I'm going to mention there's many more strategies, but due to the limited amount of time that we have, and I do want to give you the best teaching available, I'm going to offer 3 coping strategies so you can bridge that gap from the mindless to the mindful eating. Okay, so stay with me. So strategy number 1, I call that mindful eating. And these are 2 of the statements from the Institute of Mindful Eating in 2020. It says that you're allowing yourself to become aware of the positive and nurturing opportunities that are available through food selection and prep by respecting your own inner wisdom. And for many, many women, that inner wisdom is lost. We put those emotions on the back burner to help everyone else. And so we really cannot even identify your emotions. You can go ahead and put in the chat if that resonates with you, because I know with my clients and some of the women that I've been talking to about what's going on with COVID, they are just overwhelmed. And another statement is becoming aware of the physical hunger and those satiety cues that I spoke about to guide your decisions to begin and end eating. So there is a beginning and there is an end to your eating and physical hunger. So continuing on with this mindful eating, mindful eating is the core to crush your cravings. So I'm going to say that again. Once we get that mindful eating under control, it will be the core to crush your cravings, your binging, and your emotional eating. The first strategy that I always have my clients do is I really would like you to log your emotions. So this is one strategy. Only do it for about 7 days. So you can write these 4 reasons to start logging your emotions. You could take it on your iPhone, you could write it on a piece of paper, or log it on your desktop. You're going to write down when you eat, what time you started to eat, whether it's a snack, it's a craving, it's a binge, and what you're eating, and just those why you eat, similar to what I had to do earlier in this masterclass. There's no judgment, remember, just go ahead and use that as when, time, want, and why. So it's the 3 W's and the capital T. And you'll begin to know what common emotions are showing up. And once you do that, you can be more aware, and you do have the skill power to crush those cravings. Continuing on with the mindful eating, this strategy is talking about right before you eat. And it could be a binge, or it could be a meal or a snack. I want you to write this down. because they're easy to do and you can remember that. So I want you to take a deep breath, close your eyes, and relax. You can either do a prayer or you can do a gratitude before you eat. And especially if you are eating a meal, I'd like you to sit down and eat for about 15 to 20 minutes. This allows your food to be digested from the mouth to the stomach, digestive system, and then all the way up to your brain to tell your brain, I'm full, I have satiety, and I don't need any more food. But it takes about 20 minutes. So I don't know. Sometimes for me, I'll finish a meal and go, oh my gosh, I think I'm really hungry. So that's when I grab the ice cream or the chips or something to think that I'm really full. But I haven't allowed that 15 to 20 minutes for my food to be digested. And when I do that, I'm not hungry because I know that I am satisfied. And this might be particular if you do not have a regular scheduled mealtime and you want to eat and you identify those emotions before you sit down and eat. But just remember, 15 to 20 minutes, no matter if it's a snack or it's a full meal. So one, again, this is pause. Pause before you eat. So this is a slide that I wanted to share with you, and you can put this in the chat if you'd like me to send this to you. But I'm going to briefly talk about the 7 tips for mindful eating. I want you to take smaller bites and chew. That chewing, that mouth hunger gets satisfied when you chew. Sitting at the table, there's no distractions. You're really looking at that plate and looking to feel and taste and smell the food. And you might even have a pretty tablecloth close by or a placemat just to make it fun and social and encouraging to eat. And I'd like you to put the fork down between bites. Once you do that, you're allowing that 15 to 20 minutes to be part of your eating cycle. So once you eat, set the fork down until you swallow, and then pick up the fork or the spoon. Another one is, this one is very common, that you don't eat straight from the packet. And this is mostly because of the snacking. Take out the food, take out the snack, and put it in a Tupperware. So when you are feeling that fullness, you close the lid and you're going to save it for later. And another thing that I see so many people do, and I'm guilty of it myself, is that when I eat, I have my phone there and I'm scrolling my phone, making sure that I've got all those emails or texts. And I'd like you to remove all of those distractions. Eating for nourishment is one of the most important activities you can for a healthy mindset and a healthy body. And again, just pay attention to the smell, the taste, and the texture. That is so important when you're eating. And this is all about strategy number 1, the mindful eating. Here's another one, a part of mindful eating. So as you can see, there are many strategies that you can start to take action, all under that mindful eating. So before a meal, you'd say, am I thirsty? Why am I eating? During the meal, you say, what are my senses telling me? Is it see, smell, savor your food? And after the meal, how will I feel? Will I be satisfied? Am I experiencing satiety? This is a quote from Dr. May. One simple and practical way to think about mindful eating is with intention and attention. You're eating with the intention of feeling better when you're finished rather than when you started, and with the attention necessary to notice your food and its effects on your body and mind. So the next one is boredom, which is very common. I think you've probably seen this image when I advertised for the Masterclass. You want to find something that you enjoy. Maybe even just writing a daily gratitude list and posting it. It's especially important that you use your hands, whatever it is, to decrease and eliminate the boredom. And it could be anything from knitting, scrapbooking, reading, gardening, cooking, using your Kindle. And another thing is just to get up and have some activities. I've listed some, such as dancing, have a virtual picnic, reading, and avoid binging while you're watching TV. That's the most important thing. I think we get lost and have that unconscious eating while we're watching Netflix or Hulu. So as you can see there, I talked about several strategies, and I wanted to introduce you to a brand new program. It's part of my series of mindless to mindful eating, and it's under my umbrella, my brand of reclaiming your confident body emotion. This is a brand new program. It's 4 weeks. We're going to have a group program. We're going to have 3 live sessions, and I'll record those sessions in case that you can't come or attend. We're going to have 1 Q&A group coaching call through Zoom. I'm going to start a private Facebook community, so we'll have some support, and definitely you can put any questions, thoughts, any issues, and I'll be right there to answer them all. And I do have a bonus, so I'm just going to be telling that about you in just a little ways, a little sooner. And this particular program, Mindless to Mindful Eating, will be starting July 30th and go toward the end of August. So what are we going to talk about when we have this Mindless to Mindful Eating? Session number 1. Do I have an eater type? I don't know if you realize that, but there are 9 eater types. So we're going to go through those so you can identify with them. And they can be a combination of eater types. But once we know their eater type, then you can know, have the skills to really monitor and be in advance and be proactive. Our next session is that you may have some raging hormones lately, and how do I stop them? Or how do I handle them and manage them? The session number 3 is why am I so hungry? We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to have a couple of scales. We're going to, not a weight scale, but an emotional scale and a hunger scale to really can zone in on where you are. And again, that's session 4. We're going to come all together, have a Q&A, and with that Facebook community. Now the bonus is, which I'm so excited about, it's a 45-minute VIP private intensive coaching call. And we will deep down, and if you have any issues, any particular questions, especially that if you don't feel real comfortable talking about it in the group Q&A. And I'm going to show you how you can have access to that 45-minute VIP call. So when I started this program, it was $497. And during COVID, back in February and March, I reduced it because I know so many people were on furlough. I reduced it to $47. But now with COVID, I really feel that this is such a great program that you come away with so many great ways to release those negative emotions. So I'm extending that to a program of $147 if you want to pay in full. So I reduced it down of $100. Or you can have 2 payments at $80. And if you register by midnight tonight, or once you receive that replay, you will receive the bonus of that 45-minute VIP intensive call. So Here is the payment system. So I'm going to put that in the chat. Hold on. Okay. Let me go back, and then I'll put it in the chat. And if anyone wants to know that information when they read the or listen to the replay, just go ahead and email me at Diane B. Morris, and we'll make sure that you get that PayPal link. So let's go back to the last strategy. And this is so important. This is called It's Time to Nurture You. Take time and relax. I know it's difficult, but if you're not healthy and you don't have self-care, very difficult for your family to have all of you and be present. Just listening to soothing music through your phone or at night or while you're taking a shower makes a lot of difference. And I've done this before. I go to Dollar Tree, I buy myself a little present, I wrap it up, and I put it on my bed. So when I go to bed at night, I have a special present just for me. Or you could buy your fresh flowers. You could add a pretty placement, like I said, or even a holiday tablecloth. So it would be so fun to have maybe that Christmas tablecloth around for the family to eat. It's great memories. Also, what is very effective is using, light your candles or use aromatherapy. Anything that can cause you to relax and move into that optimal zone of the window of tolerance. So again, thank you so much for attending and staying to the end. I have a free gift for you. And this is a gift that I want you to avoid binge eating as well. This is a list of nutritious foods to always have on hand when you can't leave your home for an extended length of time. So these are staples that can be in your refrigerator or mostly the freezer or the pantry. So if you have those on hand, it will help you avoid that binge eating because you're grasping for things in emergency or immediately. But if you have that list of foods that are available to you, it will definitely help you avoid those binge eating and the guilt and the embarrassment and that terrible cycle of eating. So here's my last slide. I hope you've enjoyed this. I found this quote by June Tomasa Wood. This is, don't let your mind bully your body. Have have self-compassion, trust your body, nurture your body, be curious. All of those will help you stay in control. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the Q&A and we'll see if there's any questions. I do have a couple questions. Yes, the group program will be starting July 30th. I haven't decided whether it's going to be AM or PM, but I will have those live sessions available as a recording, so you will have that. So there's no worry that your schedule won't allow it. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Talking about the heart hunger. Yes, the heart hunger involves those senses, because if you have those senses going, it's usually because there's something outside your body that you're smelling, you're tasting, you're looking through your eyesight. So those are things that are away from your body versus the physical hunger, which is inside your body, listening to the stomach where your digestion is and letting you know that it's time for nourishment. Food is meant for nourishment. That's it, the bottom line. It's neutral. Food is not bad. It's not good. It's there for nourishment. And that's one of the sessions that we'll be talking about in our 4-week program, mindless to mindful eating. Okay. And so I have that link in the chat, and I'll be happy in case that you do have some questions. Like I said, you can always email me at Diane@DianeBMorris, and we could schedule a quick call and you can see if this is a right fit for you. Because I really, really feel this is going to carry you so far within that 4 weeks. So thank you so much for attending and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.